Understanding what you don't know, you don't know. Yes, I'm being presumptuous as always. I've spent decades developing and inflicting my models on other people. And finally, last fall, I figured, well, maybe there's really a better way. So I started using Gemini to create stories as opposed to creating models. And while it was very good at telling me stories about relationships and their implications, I realized that it wasn't enough to see the story. I needed the model to actually be able to visualize the relationships. And hopefully I'll show you why shortly. But I did develop a number of gems, what Gemini calls their processes or whatever you want to call them, and got to a point where I could get it to reliably interact with me to develop a story and then have it convert that story into a set of CSV tables. Here they are, causal relationships for loops and relationships that I could copy and put in a text file and just drop into Kumu, and it would create me a relationship model with notes and everything else on it. And I developed a few of these, well, a lot of them, though it didn't, well, it took longer than I expected, but it got old in a hurry because once you develop the model, you have to look at it and figure out what's the next question you want to go back and ask Gemini. And then it creates you another set of CSV tables that you put in a text file and drop into Kumu, and then you study the model for a while and you go back and ask another question, and it got old in a hurry. So it has taken quite some time, though I managed to finally get Gemini to allow me to have a conversation with it. And this is how can MMT support the development of the USA? And it gives me a bunch of perspectives. And then it also gives me nodes and edges that would have been CSV tables before. And then I ask it to actually create me a causal loop diagram for that set of relationships. And the set of relationships it defines, each one of the elements has a description. Each one of the connections has a description. It knows what all the loops are, and you can study the loops individually if you care to. Move the pieces around, move the edges up. That's not, oh, okay, it is working. Move the edges around. Though, and what happens is that you look at this and you study it and you find out that there are, where is it? There are two things that influence private sector savings, but it doesn't influence anything else. And you sort of think that the private sector savings ought to have an influence on some of the other relationships. So you come down here and you ask it. Well, I gotten too far ahead. Let me back up. What is private sector savings likely to influence? So based upon looking at the model, I decide to ask it another question. It goes ahead and tells me what it thinks in terms of investment rates, and these things. And I say, then can you add these four variables to the model? And then it forgets that it just told me what variables that was talking about. And it said, well, you have to tell me what you want. I said, well, you listed the variables for the private sector savings should influence, add these to the diagram. So it goes through and it thinks a bit, and then it creates me the diagram with all of those pieces added. And I can continue to do this as far as I want to, continuing to evolve the relationships. And what I rapidly found out was that there are, if I started and developed this model from scratch, there's just elements here that would not have come to mind. And why I make the comment about modeling what you don't know, you don't know. And Gemini seems to be absolutely marvelous as pointing out to me what I don't know, I don't know. So once I've developed this, I could send this to somebody else and they could ponder through it and read all of the notes and investigate the loops. And there are a lot more of the loops now. Though what's even more useful is write me an emotional tripping over the truth story about how the future of the USA might evolve if the powers that be understood and accepted MMT. And it goes off and starts in 2042 and runs through this sequence of how the future might evolve, which is the first thing that I would send to somebody, as opposed to sending them the model. Now I would send them a story. And then the question was, how might this story vary for different stakeholders? And it goes through and tells me various aspects of the model. And I could ask it numerous other questions like, what are the most relevant leverage points in the model? And if I was going to adopt this model, what order should I start in? I mean, the number of questions that you could ask is pretty much endless. The thing is, it has an endless set of responses for you if you ask the questions. So what I'm getting at is, on June 11th at 11 a.m. New York time, I'm doing a workshop to explain how I got all of this to work and give all of the pieces to the attendees so that they can do this. And there are notes in the note section of the video that explain the times and how to sign up and all the rest of that. So look forward to having you attend the workshop. It's been quite a slog to get it to do this, but I'm just absolutely fascinated with it now, so that I can start out and I can model anything in a very short period of time. Is it right? No. It's usually better than I would have developed myself. So look forward to seeing you then. Take care.